What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Green Lantern podcast. It's been a hot minute since we've been in the building. Of course, as always, I am John Robinson IV, aka Scarrett, aka Fourth Wall Online. Along with me, as usual, is Tony.
Hello.
Ryan.
Hello.
And Foxy.
Hey.
And this episode we're supposed to talk about Alan Scott. So I guess before we got we got the casting information, and we kind of got derailed a little bit with who we were going to talk about and with the order in which we were going to talk about them. And then holidays and life happened, so we got super delayed. But hopefully we can come back more consistently, dropping Green Lantern information. We do have a Green Lantern supposed starting date. As of this recording, it supposedly started recording 10 days ago, like on the 12th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yep.
Allegedly.
Yeah, they allegedly started filming the 12th.
So
but with all the with COVID still happening, I wouldn't be surprised if something happened and they may have had to stop filming for a bit. But
right, yeah, the numbers are still doing their thing. This vaccine's going out, but it's still real out here. I don't even know how to feel about COVID right now. My job's trying to start bringing they're trying to cycle us back into the office, and I'm just kind of y'all know it's still going on, right? But I don't know. How y'all doing?
Man.
That's my answer too.
I'm in my sector just dodging germs. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, I feel you.
I'm nocturnal because I work nights. So it's because I work nights, I'm not dealing with customers or nothing, which is good, but it's very weird.
True. Yeah, when I go into the office, it's just me and a couple other people in our office, and we stay away from anybody else. So
yeah, I do overnight shift for home health aid stuff on the weekends. So it's just me with the same person all weekend. But during the rest of the weekday, I'm still socially distancing. I go and see people only if I know that I'm okay, that I haven't been exposed to anything. I got my first shot last month. I get my second shot tomorrow, actually.
Oh, wow.
Moderna gang, woo! So I am excited about that. And plus, since a couple of my family members down south are vaccinated, that means that, I can go see them after a while, or they could drop in to see me.
Do some visits.
So that'd be nice, but I ain't playing with this.
Everybody get y'all vaccinations, y'all. World
Yep.
out there. Get y'all vaccinations so we can have a semblance of normal life. The world's changed, just so everybody knows. I hope y'all know that. There will be a semblance of normalcy, but things gonna be a little bit different, The new normal. It's all good though.
I say get whatever vaccine is available to you. Don't be trying to, I don't like the AZ. I'm not gonna try to pronounce that. But don't act like just because you heard about some very rare clotting issues that it's bad to get it. It's worse to get coronavirus than to get the vaccine.
True that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're gonna talk about, before we get into talking about Alan Scott, the original, the OG Green Lantern from way back in the 40s, we're going to talk about some casting information that they have on the current characters in the show. As we talked about last time, the Green Lanterns that will be on the show include Simon Baz, Jennifer Cruz, Thal Sinestro, and Alan Scott. There's also a completely new casted character named Brie Jarta. I'm interested to see what she's going to be like. But yeah, I guess we'll just go through and we'll read these casting descriptions that they put out for these characters, kind of casting call auditioning descriptions. Why don't you read one, Tony?
Okay, I'll start. Fall Sinestro. Gonna be a male in his 40s, any ethnicity. Um, and the description is the greatest of all Green Lanterns. Sinestro is akin to a warrior monk, the personification of grace under pressure. He serves as the strategic commander for the Corps, and all Lanterns follow his orders without question. Although he is revered for his unmatched willpower and wisdom, a darker destiny belies his otherwise zen demeanor. Which, I mean, they're seeding for him to be the villain because he's Sinestro. But,
Yeah. I like that without question. Every time I hear that, I think about the Dora Milaje. So, I mean, what y'all think? Y'all think that's it sounds
I
like
like the warrior monk. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
I kind of had to laugh at the whole warrior monk thing because I mean we all know. Of course, Sinestro is very formidable in his abilities as a with the ring slinging and everything, but just like akin to a warrior monk or an otherwise zen demeanor. It's like sometimes I'm almost like, did y'all like read the comics? Like
he's pretty zen. He be keeping us cool. He floats everywhere with his hands behind his back. He keeps us cool while Hal Jordan's
but that's calculating, not.
Yeah, I guess he's, you could say that he's definitely much more cold and calculating, but it's not necessarily because of a zen demeanor. He's just he's kind of a he's kind of a jerk, and like he's pretty arrogant. It's like, Ring, tell this human who I am. Sinestro is the greatest Green Lantern in Sector 2813. Blah 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 blah.
Greatest of
I
all.
don't know. Nothing like that. None of that says zen demeanor to me. But but okay.
I mean, he could be zen and conceited at the same time. All right,
Zenly conceited.
Fox, you want to read the description of Bree Jarta?
Okay, let's see. This is the new character they're creating. Bree Jarta, black female, 30s. Few Lanterns take their commitment to the corpse and its purpose more seriously than Bree. Bree is half human, and it's the half she's worked hard to forget. Bree has an alien mother and a human father. However, she was raised on a more enlightened planet with an advanced society. Bree outworked her peers and earned her ring, only to find herself partnered with Guy Gardner. Damn, homie.
I think I'm gonna like that dynamic, to be honest.
I think I will too, because of course, knowing, just having an idea of Guy Gardner's personality, putting someone who is much more rigid and serious and very, non-bro-ish, next to him is always going to make for a good dynamic. It's kind of why he and Kyle were they were very mismatched, very different demeanors, but they made a good team. Now,
okay.
Now, when it comes to this new character, Bree, I kind of have concerns. You know what I'm saying? She's black. She's a black woman in her 30s, and she really takes the commitment to the corpse seriously. Her being half human, and it's the half she's worked to forget. And also being raised on another planet that's supposedly more enlightened and society's more advanced. So they're already making her the fish out of water, enlightened but fish out of water black character who always, puts in the effort, and, even though she's not raised in a society that tells her that she has to do as she has to put in more work to get half of the credit and recognition for her work, they still kind of put her in that position. Mm-hmm. And like it's kind of concerning me a bit. It's we don't know that much about her yet, but it's kind of screaming, new black. It's in some ways it's screaming like new black tees to me, and I'm always concerned about that because anything screaming new black to me is just not a good thing, period. So this could go either way, and especially in regards to the corps pretty much being an intergalactic police force, given the current climate on how the general public feels about law enforcement, wanting it defund, wanting it abolished. I think a good storyteller could really do some things with this character, and a very bad storyteller could do a lot of damage with this character.
I mean, I don't know. She's raised on another planet, though. I don't know if they have that planet has the same societal issues as Earth.
I'm not saying in regards to her having those issues like on Earth. I mean, I'm not saying in regards to having those issues like on her planet. I'm saying, because of her being raised on a different planet, when things are more, supposedly more enlightened and the society is more advanced. We don't know advanced how. They just say enlightened and advanced. So we're supposed to think that race and ethnicity are a non-concern. Supposedly if it's enlightened, supposedly it's more I don't want to say tolerant, but more egalitarian.
I want to say in itself is a weird thing to hear. It's a weird DC universe.
Because, it's gonna cause, because especially if she's being teamed up with a human from a world where it is not really like that at all for Black people like her. That's why I'm saying it's giving me a lot of Black person sort of out of water, because they've been in a certain environment for so long. It's with her being teamed up with Guy, it's only natural that at some point or another she's going to end up on Earth. And her father is, and also being the fact that her father is human and she's Black. So
yeah,
apparently it's it more than likely it might be a Black dad and an alien mom. And if she's working on forgetting the half part, if she wants to forget, if she doesn't really give a damn about the half part of her that's human, what is that, the human half, like, what does that say? What does that say about her as someone who will probably have to deal with, like I said, if she's teamed up with the human, so she's gonna come in contact with Earth and all the stuff that entails with that. So there's going to be a point where she's going to come in contact with, dealing with not being human enough, not being Black enough. Like I said, in a good in the hands of a writer who is educated and nuanced in these matters and all this stuff, it could go really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good setup, to be honest.
There is potential for it to go well.
Yeah.
However, given the history, given the history of a good amount of these series, with the exception of the Black Lightning series, because that's what a majority Black writers room. So if DC and HBO and, in turn Warner Media, if they do their due diligence and get somebody on there who can bring the complexity and the nuance to this character, then I won't be as concerned. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm kind of concerned, but I think putting her, and especially putting her with a white human guy, who, if depending on who's gonna read the character description next, like just reading his description, like they're gonna clash on a lot of things. So let me I'll leave it at that. So
yeah, let me read, guys, so we can see why this is such a big. All right, so Guy Gardner, white male, 30s, a hulking mass of masculinity as rendered in the comics. Guy is the personification of the hyper-patriotism found in the 1980s that birthed Hulk Hogan and Rambo. However, Guy is still likable. We got to add that caveat. He might act foolish, but he is not a fool. Guy loves his daughter and wife with all of his hard partying, fast driving, hot-tempered heart. That is quite the description. But like many alpha males, there is a deep undercurrent of pain driving it all.
Isn't it always?
I mean, it sounds like Guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. Like, other than just saying that Guy is likable, it's hard to describe somebody who's like him as likable. It's like in the comics, it's like he's such an idiot. He's such a douchebag in a lot of ways. But like his heart is always in the right place. He's always trying to do the right thing. He's always got his friends back.
Yeah, that I can agree with, especially that I can agree with, especially having read Green Lantern Corps, and a lot of times I do find myself rooting for Guy to to get the job done, and he really if anything he loves hard, he does his job hard, like he does genuinely try to do the right thing. That's probably the nicest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's but, pretty.
I get it. Yeah.
He's like one of those. I mean, I think they're gonna play it right. I think he's gonna nail being the hulking mass of masculinity, and at the same time as they nail him, loving his wife and daughter.
I think so too. And I there's definitely something in, if they go more into his past on how he, or if they incorporate his history with, working for sort of law enforcement and, sort of blending that in. I think this character description is good. I think it's pretty true to the character. I'm laughing at the whole, hyper patriotism founded in the 80s. Like,
all right, Ryan, you want to read Alan Scott? Alan Scott is the last description that we have.
Oh yeah, the
OG. Triple OG.
Yep. All right. So the white male, 28 years old. From the outside, Alan is a model of the early 1940s, the image of a G-man. Alan is handsome, clean-shaven, well-dressed, without a hair out of place. So I guess he's going to look good for the ladies, He's a little old, though. He'll be a little old, though. He has spent his young life trying to personify truth, justice, and the American way. He is already a household name in LA and is seen as a hero thanks to the positive press coverage. Oh, okay, so he's saying, okay, he got the press coverage on his side. However, for all of Alan's honesty, there's one huge lie that follows him. He is a gay man, a fact that in his era could cost him his job or even his life. So,
in his era.
Yes, in his era. I don't know. I mean, that we know when they play with this a little bit can get him in a little trouble. Like, that brings me back to the Bree, where it's like you on pins and needles about if it's behind the scenes right, the right writers, HBO is paying attention, DC is paying attention, it can be done right. But all of this is very risky. Yeah, it's not done properly.
Like, because they've got the formula. Like I said, I'm a little concerned when it comes to Brie, but there is in the right hands, this could be what, it could be a slobber knocker, as JR.
Yep.
Or it could just be a flaming disaster. Mm-hmm. No pun intended. So
no.
No puns or slurs intended whatsoever. But yeah, with the whole his in his era, that really it gets the cogs moving in my brain, because it makes me wonder if they're gonna do this as like a man out of time, or if they're gonna use him in a bit more of a flashbacky sort of way.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering about that. I mean, either way it could work. They could use Alan to establish some history of magic coming into the DC universe, and then since it sorta kinda has something to do with the Guardians, it could lead into that, which could lead into backstory on how they found a way to coalesce all the will in the universe and then create rings and stuff like that, how they came up with the technology. It could definitely lead to certain things. It just depends on how they want to do it, how they want to do it, story, how they want to structure it, because it could be something if they have this 28-year-old presenting man in present time dealing with present Green Lanterns and everything, but him like letting them know his backstory, and it's because of this ring I've been able, the power that he's been granted has extended his lifespan. So they've got the potential to really do some things, and because it's HBO, they have the budget, so I don't want any excuses.
True that. All right. I mean, well, speaking of Alan Scott, this episode is all about Alan Scott. We've been talking about the show in general, and that's really all the info we have right now on the show. Still very early, so we're not going to have too much yet. But of course, up until that time, we'll be talking about who these characters are based on the comics. And today, that character is Alan Scott. So I will start off with Alan Scott's introduction back in 1940, created by Bill Finger and Martin Odell. He's the OG Green Lantern, established before the Green Lantern Corps was ever even existed. Before there was a Hal Jordan, before there was a Guy Gardner, before there was a John Stewart, who we all know and love. There was Alan Scott rolling by himself, beating up thugs off a train.
It was cool, actually.
It's all, yeah. There's something about either saving folks from trains or wrecking trains in the 1940s, man. There's saving someone, saving a damsel in distress from getting run over by a train. Superman picking up a big old car and he's faster than a locomotive. It always comes back to trains and locomotives in the 1940s, man.
Look, the trains were a huge innovation in America back then. So everybody was hype on trains. It was like,
true that.
Everybody was hype on trains. But so how did he get his powers? Well, train blew up. Actually, that's not true. Train crashed. There was an explosion caused by a villain named no name villain. I think his name was Decker or something like that. Not Deckard, like from Blade Runner, but sounds kind of like that. But anyways, no, Decker blew up the train. For whatever reason, after this train exploded and derailed and crashed, Alan Scott found himself talking to a green flame. We don't know why. a green flame. It just showed up. Okay. And at this time, this green flame showed up in the form of a Green Lantern. I really don't know why it showed up as a Green Lantern. I guess they just thought that was cool or whatever. It spoke to him, told
well,
him.
they did explain that.
What's that?
Okay. Okay, so basically, like, it used to be like a magical artifact in the Golden Age origin. It was a magical artifact, and eventually, like, humans found it, and it, like, there was this whole, like, mythology around it, and one guy ended up with it, and he remodels it into looking like a lantern.
Right.
Why?
Oh, that's right.
Because he wanted to, because it looked cool. I don't know.
He was the lantern maker. I think it was the Chinese lantern maker. Was that in the? And this is what I can't remember, because I was gonna get to that lantern maker, but I can't remember if that was in the 1940s story or if it was reintroduced, if it wasn't introduced into the 1987.
They had it in both, actually. Because it did have, I mean, with period typical Orientalism, but they did have like the Chinese origin of the lamp. Like, they had the lamp over there, and it's a whole, So I'm warning y'all, just be ready for that.
The lantern told him to create a ring, as a source of it, to hold the power, and so he did. And he created Green Lantern and became the first and only Green Lantern at the time. And basically just beat up bad guys. I mean, he was pretty much unstoppable, except for, if somebody came at him with a wood bat. The lantern ring didn't work on wood. They established pretty early that he could block metal objects, heavy hits, anything. But then somebody came at him with the wood, like a 2x4, and he was like, "Oh snap, that hurt." I don't know why they chose wood to be the thing that.
Wait, they chose wood?
Yeah. I think it's. I read that and I was like, you can't be serious.
I think it's like how you use like a wooden stake to get a vampire. Like, I think it's just the anti magic.
Right. Yeah. You could just take Alan to the woodshed with a wooden bat.
Yeah, that is a good point. Like the the vampire thing, the anti-magic aspect. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. See, perspective. Because I was just like, dang, he could block everything but a wood. Okay. Yeah, he was pretty unstoppable. Fought a lot of crime, whatever. Of course, Green Lantern was reintroduced later on in the 60s as Hal Jordan, and Alan Scott wasn't to be heard of until the mid 60s, when he showed back up. Now, this is important because this is how they established that. This is when they first established that this Green Lantern, Alan Scott, was actually not the Green Lantern that we know, like Hal Jordan. He wasn't the same as them because he came from Earth 2. Okay, so this is where Earth 2 was established, and so he basically came from a different universe and had a different history. And they did that just to make things easier for readers at the time. Now, when we fast forward like another 20 years to the 80s, we see that pretty much the whole entire DC universe got retconned in Crisis Between Infinite Earths, which we all love that event, right? Mm-hmm. But in general, he was a major member of the Justice Society. Pretty much their heavy hitter, right? I mean, was there really anybody other than maybe Dr. Fate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than Dr. Fate, who was really, or Jakeem Thunder. Jakeem Thunder was kind of a beast, when he joined later. I remember distinctly every time a bad guy showed up to fight the team, they made sure to shut Jakeem Thunder up first. They had to somehow stop him, keep him from making a wish, because otherwise he just wrecked their whole day before they could do anything. But in any case, yeah, he helped establish the Justice Society, which is one of the classic super teams. There's several iterations of the Justice Society and Justice League, so I want to make sure I'm not crossing wires here. But I'm speaking. I believe he was in the original Justice Society. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I want to say yes.
Yeah.
We're talking about like comics from like 80 years ago.
From way.
Yeah, he was part of the original Justice Society of America.
Right. Oh my gosh, just so. Please forgive me, y'all, for this history.
And look, we all know when it comes to freaking history continuity, DC still hasn't gotten it quite down. It's a perpetual work in progress. So
I will try to very briefly explain how, like, the important things about Alan Scott, without making it too complicated. But please take note that DC rewrites its history all the time. Okay, so the basics are this: when the Crisis Between Infinite Earths happened, outside of comics, fans liked Alan Scott and Hal Jordan, and they realized that, hey, we gotta give Alan Scott a more definitive backstory. Since we're retconning everything anyway, we could rewrite anything at this point, because they were merging all the universes together. So what they did was they said, okay, way back in the day, remember the little blue guys, the the elders of the universe,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, the Guardians of the Universe.
Guardians of the Universe. Excuse me.
Yeah, they don't have a raccoon and a little cute tree, but
Right, my bad.
They need one.
they do.
They could use one.
The squirrel guy, Chip.
True, they got Chip.
Wait, yeah, they do got the squirrel Green Lantern, yeah.
They got Chip. That is true. I love Chip. But no, so what they did was they said that way back in the day, before us low life beings came into existence, the Guardian, there's big war, blah blah blah, magic wielded everywhere, and they're like, all right, magic's a problem. It's corrupted, whatever. And the Guardians of the Universe decided, hey, let's get rid of this. So they tried to gather all of the latent magical energy in the universe. Now, this is something that's a little bit confusing because obviously there's still magical beings like Dr. Fate, Zatanna, Faust, whoever, you name it, right? There's a bajillion magical beings. So obviously they didn't delete magic. But the idea was that way back then they gathered as much latent magical energy as possible and put it into, and coalesced it together into what was called the Star Heart. All right. Now, back in the day, back in 1940, when the story was first written, there wasn't a Star Heart. It was just a Green Lantern, right? But in this retcon that was rewritten in 1987, they established that there was this thing called the Star Heart, which is all of the magic, they called it wild magic, of the universe coalesced together. The Star Heart became sentient and sent a piece of itself off to find a host. That host was Alan Scott. Okay. Let's take a pause.
He's still here with us.
Hopefully, all of that is understandable. Okay, so Alan Scott now exists in the same universe as Hal Jordan, except for when Hal Jordan and everybody else came into the picture, their powers were technology based, still created by the Guardians, but they were tech based. Whereas the old power that Alan Scott has is magic based. This retcon also establishes Alan Scott as one of the most powerful characters in the DC universe, which I know is not saying much because there's a lot of those. There's a lot of most powerful characters in the DC universe. But in any case, yeah, that's how the Star Heart was established, and that's what the Star Heart is. The Star Heart is thought to have both a light and a dark side. It is definitely sentient, as we will talk about in future stories that happen in a moment. All right, I'm gonna take a break. You guys have any comments?
Now, this also keeps yellow from affecting him, right? Like it does the other lanterns, or no?
Oh yeah, back in the day, I don't know if yellow. I don't think yellow affected him.
I don't think it. I think the yellow was the equivalent of wood.
Okay.
But when the universes merged, I've never seen him have problems with yellow specifically, but don't quote me.
Yeah, I think during an attempted retcon, it seems like when they originally tried to retcon it, they made it that Alan's ring originally belonged to someone else. Someone else who apparently the Guardians of the Universe, they liked him. They liked this person so much that they removed the yellow impurity from his ring.
Wow.
Nice.
But the Guardians deliberately put it into the other Green Lantern rings, but they took it from one Lantern's ring.
Wow.
Man, that's why he gets to be the OG.
And he's special. Wait, so they gave that to Alan Scott? Or is that because his was created by the Starheart.
It originally belonged to a Green Lantern named Yalan Gur.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now. Okay, I got you. Yeah, the Lanterns were playing favoritism.
Yeah.
I mean, the Guardians are playing favoritism.
Yeah, but then but then as it always turns out when you're dubbed like the favorite of the Guardians or the greatest Green Lantern ever, you end up abusing your power, and that's what Yalan did. So the Guardians pretty much substituted instead of yellow, they put in the weakness for wood.
Yeah.
So that enabled, he was apparently Yalan was starting up some mess with the ancient peoples of China. Mm-hmm. So the Guardians were like, "Oh, word! So we're just gonna make your ring weak to wood, so that the ancient peoples could, use wood to fight Yalan and defeat him." Mm. And they ended up killing him. And apparently it was his body that became that green meteorite that ended up becoming Alan Scott's lantern.
Wow.
That's deep.
Apparently, yeah. So his spirit is within the metal that Alan Scott's lantern was made. So basically, that's why it comes complete with with his ring. There's no weakness to yellow, but he's weak against wood. So tally ho.
Well, one of the big things about Alan Scott and also Jay Garrick, we're not talking about Flash, of course, but both of these characters, that I think is important to hit on is they fight ageism pretty well.
Yeah,
these dudes are old.
Yeah, these dudes are old as hell. Nothing against them, but they're pretty old. So just the fact that I think with Jay, it's just the Speed Force is like, hey man, you got to be able to run at the speed of light on a moment's notice. So we're just gonna keep you, in shape. We're just gonna keep you around for a while. And with Alan, I just think it was definitely the whole, Yalan Gur's, green meteorite body.
Yeah.
It's like, stay alive long enough to fulfill my rage or whatever the hell. And it's like, meanwhile, Alan's just like, what rage? I'm aging,
he's alive. I mean,
I'm aging gracefully.
No, that's raw. That's raw magical power. We're gonna get into like how powerful the Starheart actually is. I mean, like, you gotta think about it. They coalesced all of the magic in the universe at the time together and put it into this thing, and that empowers Alan. That's off the charts powerful. I mean, and he does definitely show it multiple times in the Justice Society. He's we were just talking about. He's pretty much their big gun. They got Dr. Fate. Yeah, they have Jakeem, love Jakeem, but like Alan Scott is the guy that is like when everybody else was fighting, they'd be like, man, y'all wait till Alan get here though. And then when Alan shows up, it's pretty much a wrap. He's like their Superman. You know what I mean? Superman during this time is usually on the Justice League as opposed to the Justice Society of America. But like for their team, Alan Scott is like their Superman. Whereas I guess Wildcat or whoever would be like, well, fighting wise at least, like their Batman. but yeah, so there's a lot of history. I'm gonna like kind of like peruse through his history as far as like what they do with the character. They know that he's important in Justice Society. He's always pretty much a part of that team. They de-age him at one point, which completely, gets rid of my whole argument about how they were doing ageism well, or fighting against ageism well. They de-age him, but then they re-age him again, um, uh, in Zero Hour. As a matter of fact, we talked about Zero Hour before when we spoke about Hal Jordan, because that was during a time when Hal Jordan was parallax still, but Extant at one point, when I guess this shows how powerful Extant is, because we just talked about how powerful Alan Scott is. Apparently, Alan Scott tried to attack Extant. Extant just like drained his power, his ring's power, and it became like nothing, and then de-aged him, like, or sorry, re-aged him, re-aged him back. And Alan Scott was basically like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess I'll stop being Green Lantern now. Hey, Kyle, you should take that mantle up."
That's just a comic book thing. Like, we can't just have two Green Lanterns. Like, yeah, you gotta upset people. Like, I hate when they do
that. That's just how they did it. And for a minute, we thought that we weren't gonna have a Alan Scott, but of course, they quickly reconcile that, because comics never knows what they're going to do. And we get a storyline that features Alan Scott and Kyle Rayner called Green Lantern Heart of Darkness, in which, and this is the first time that and we're going to talk about the kids later, but this is the first time, or actually we'll talk about the kids now. This is the first time is that the first time we see Obsidian and Jade, which are Alan's kids, Obsidian being Todd Rice, Jade being Jenny Lynn Hayden. But this is this is the first time we're going to talk about it here, because this is a major story. Actually, I think this is one of the most important Alan Scott stories. So we'll spend a little bit of time on this. But basically, there was a moment in which the Starheart became sentient and tried to take over, be evil, and I wanted to say they was trying to kill Alan Scott. But I'm not fully sure if that was his intention. I think he wanted to just express his dominion over him and then everybody else, of course. So yeah, this is where we finally get Obsidian, and more importantly, Jade. I say more importantly because Jade does seem to be more central to the Green Lantern story. So more importantly here, Jade, and it's actually her that summons the power to defeat the Starheart, because Jade's a badass. You guys, what do you guys think about Jade, or Obsidian, I guess? But what are your thoughts on Jade?
I don't know. I mean, she's cool. I'm underread, admittedly, in a lot of her appearances. Mainly because when we found out Kyle wasn't going to be on the show, that means I didn't get to like actually reading his run all the way, and I know that she's in that a lot. But conceptually, I enjoy DC and their use of magic, and also, her design is really nice.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I am not that. I'm in the same boat with Tony, that I haven't read a lot of stuff that she's been in, but I did read a crossover event when she was with the Outsiders. Mm-hmm. It was around the time when it was found out that Superboy was a clone of Superman and Lex Luthor, mm-hmm. and that Lex Luthor had put in like a trigger switch unconsciously in him, where he says the Latin phrase for conquer or die. And it turned off Superboy's conscious mind, and he just became like this, sort of like this soulless clone, mm-hmm. that like beat the shit, beat the ever living crap out of the Teen Titans. Right. I mean, he broke Tim Drake's arm. He mollywopped the hell out of Cassie. He basically vibrated. He made Cyborg vibrate so hard that it made him like come apart literally.
Wow.
In the worst way. And it made him he shaved his whole head so that he was bald, and you could basically see nothing but his eyes. His eyes were just like glowing because all he was doing was using his heat vision a lot. So and so that was with the Teen Titans. With the Outsiders, it was discovered that one of their own was an android that was part of the Outsiders. I forget what her name was, but the same thing happened with her, only she was like a way in the future descendant of Brainiac.
Yeah, I think that one's like 13. Sorry.
Yeah, she was. I think she was either Brainiac 8 or 13, something like that.
I know they both have shown up, so it is kind of.
Yeah. So basically, it was a crossover storyline with the Outsiders and Teen Titans. It was called the Insiders because they had no idea about these two folks until it was too late. And Brainiac 8 chose the right time to get rid of the sort of disguise, the programming, that the original programming that she had used to get in good with the Outsiders. So she was able to shut that down. And that's how. And Jade was on the Outsiders. She was part of that team at the time. And she was one of the leaders, and she seemed pretty damn capable and strong and able to do,
Yeah, Jade's powerful. And again,
powerful up there, definitely up there with Starfire.
Yeah. Speaking.
But they were all getting,
Starheart.
but they were still getting mollywopped by like Brainiac 8 because apparently Brainiac 8 was like, oh yeah, I figured out how to, bypass your little green constructs that you're making. Yeah, I figured out how to bypass those a while ago. So yeah, those don't work on me. So
that's what villains do.
Eat this humble pie.
Yeah, that's what villains do.
And they ended up teaming up with their counterparts, with the Brainiac of that time and Lex Luthor. So the Outsiders and the Teen Titans, what was left of them, they all had to team together and fight Superboy and Brainiac 8 or Brainiac 13, whichever one.
I mean, to speak to how powerful.
Sorry.
But to bring it back, yes, Jade is very powerful and pretty formidable. So yeah, only thing I wish is that the only thing, of course, I did not always like the choices for costumes when it came to her. But that's more of a problem with certain artists than with her.
I like her main costume, like the full body one, but like there's some other ones, like at the end of the Heart of Darkness, I was like, what is she wearing? Like what is she wearing?
Yeah, and it's really no different from other women in DC. Like for a while it's like, can you guys put something on Starfire? Anything? So but like I get it. Like I'm looking at a picture of Jade. It's a variant for JLA 44 in 2010, and David Mack, who's a great artist. This is a pretty good rendition of her costume, for her. So
to speak to how powerful Jade is, when the Starheart became, well, it was already sentient, but when it let itself be known to everybody that it was sentient, it was Jade that defeated it. She said, basically, if you are the Starheart, then the only thing that can defeat you is another embodiment of the Starheart, which is me, which is what she is. Her powers come from, she's literally birthed from the Starheart, being Alan Scott's daughter. And I mean, honestly, it's pretty formidable that she was able to do that and Alan couldn't. So yeah, it looked like when at this point that the Starheart was destroyed, but Alan was still able to summon the power of the like the vestiges, like the I guess the loose vestiges of the Starheart was still in him, so he was able to fight. And it seemed like he was kind of under like depowered some, but like as time went on and stories went on, he found out that he really still had the full power of the Starheart over time. Another thing to note, I want to talk about is I mentioned Extant depowered his ring, and later on he came back as Sentinel. He found out that he was able to fight without the ring, and this was something that was leaning into showing the power of the Starheart as well. That he didn't actually need the ring to fight, and he called himself Sentinel because Kyle Rayner was Green Lantern at the time. So I don't know how I feel about the name Sentinel, but whatever. Another story when the Starheart returned. Another important story, in my opinion, is when at some point Jade was killed in a war. We won't get into the specifics of that, but she was killed.
It was a war that happened during Infinite Crisis, and during the very first 52 series.
Yep. So she was killed, of course. Like in comics, people always end up coming back. She was resurrected. She was a Black Lantern briefly, but then she got resurrected by the White Lantern, or the White Lantern entity, called the Entity.
It's called the Entity, but she was brought back as a White Lantern, yeah.
Yep. And when she was training on Oa, training, like meditating and crap, the Starheart came out of nowhere, put her in a Starheart crystal and flew her to Earth, and then like started causing chaos. I'm putting that in super simple terms.
It's pretty much. That's pretty much what happened. Yeah. The Starheart was basically, since you said it's like you said, it's sentient, so it was pretty much taking control of people. And when it got on Earth, the longer it stayed on Earth, the more powerful it grew, and I guess it was, driving all of the metahumans around the world to their mind. So.
Oh no, yeah, it was able to take over the power of any metahumans with magical, or some metahumans with magical or elemental based powers.
Oh, okay. Any hints of magical ability, they were just, the Starheart was just like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah. I mean, there was a pretty cool scene when it took over Power Girl, and we got a pretty cool fight between Supergirl and Power Girl.
Ooh. Okay, I gotta look that up.
But funny enough, I think it was Jade that actually ended up putting her down. And then Jade also put the army that was attacking them down. Jade is a beast. I'm trying to tell y'all.
This is now the Jade episode of the podcast.
I like to bring in Obsidian here for a minute.
Yes.
No, I was kidding. Go ahead.
Obsidian, yeah.
Listen, Obsidian tried. He had his moments, but the darkness got him.
Obsidian. Yeah. Jade, yeah. Poor Jade. That's the thing about, being a twin. And they want to do the whole duality, light and darkness thing. Somebody's got to be the light, somebody's got to be the dark, and it just had to be you, Obsidian. Durr. From the name.
Jade, another prop.
Can DC hit you over the head any harder?
I mean, her name is Jade, and she's green, so.
But of course, because. This is DC we're talking about. We're talking about green. Green is the shiznai. It's the color. It's the color of will. It's the color of money. It's the
color of money.
green is just that. Yeah. Of all the money that we have just thrown into the freaking shallow pool of DC with their retcons that never ends, but we still love them. God, this is an abusive relationship. Okay, someone stop me right now.
Listen. If Alan had given Obsidian more hugs, he could have possibly been half of Jade. Okay, let's just be honest here. Come on.
Alan always gave Obsidian hugs. Let's be real. Let me talk about Obsidian for a minute.
Go ahead.
Time,
I am not mad. Go in for your boy. Go in for Obsidian.
Look. Every time Alan comes to tell, hey son, I love you, Obsidian's just like, nah, I'm gonna get with this other dude that uses shadow powers and take over the world in darkness. Like, he's just like,
he thought about it for 5 seconds. Come on now, he thought about it. It was tough for him. Okay, in his adoptive parent life, it was tough for him. I'm just saying.
Got with a random guy.
I give him like 5 seconds. Come on. He tried.
Listen, sometimes you never know. Sometimes that random guy that you get with may have fucked him a little longer than his daddy did. Like,
Nah. Alan Scott was always trying to be there for.
Like, give him a little bit of time. Okay, give him some time.
Alan was always trying to be there for Todd, and Todd just wasn't hearing it. Like, he's just like the angry teenage kid, and he's not even a teenager anymore. Like,
yeah.
But in any case, when the Starheart comes back down, and mind you, I know I just explained that the Starheart was quote unquote destroyed, but this is where we found out that the Starheart that came to Alan Scott was a piece of the Starheart. The bigger Starheart was floating around the universe still. So that wasn't actually fully destroyed. It just was thought to be destroyed. It was the bit of it that was within Alan, and also Jade, of course, who destroyed it. Well, it came down, took over Alan. Alan was like, "Yo, I'm a boss." Put on his Kingdom Come armor. He started like murking heroes like it was nothing. Went up to the moon and set up a whole empire. Like, again, I'm putting it in simple terms, but this is what he did. And this is the Starheart that basically took over Alan. How did they fix this? Again, Jay was a badass and literally went up and smoked the. Again, I'm skipping over things for the sake of time and simplicity. But she went over and smoked the Starheart out of her dad, gave him enough control to keep the Starheart in check. And then after the cool thing that came out of this was that they let the kingdom that the Starheart created on the moon, they let the Emerald Kingdom kind of stay there, and then it attracted magical beings from across the universe, and it became like this magical wonderland. It's kind of pretty interesting, actually. I kind of like that. It was weird, but I mean, comics are weird, so. It was like the next day there was like minotaurs and like fae like flying around.
Oh yeah. So it basically was like hey, this magical place is empty, so why don't we just populate it with all the magical creatures we can throughout the DCU? It's actually nice.
Yep. So those are the major things for Alan Scott. I'll mention one other major thing really briefly. There was a super villain terrorist called Scythe. This story was actually very Jay Garrick centric more than it was Alan Scott centric. But Alan Scott, it was really like both of them were involved in this story. There was some time back in time where they were supposed to they went on a mission back in the 40s where they were supposed to kill a baby, and they were like, "I'm not doing that." Actually, they fought over it. It was like that was the mission. I guess it's like a military mission. They're the military, and I can't remember which was like, "I'm not doing that." I think it was Jay that said, "I'm not doing that," and Alan was like, "No, we got to. It's the mission." And they ended up not killing the baby. Well, that baby grew up to be a super terrorist that was wrecking the entire Justice Society of America by himself.
Not just a super terrorist, a Nazi super terrorist.
Yeah. I mean, I get why you don't want to kill a baby, but I mean, damn.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a Nazi terrorist, man, what kind of baby?
Yeah, I mean, like that's a no-brainer, Jay Garrick.
Jay not about that life. It's all right. He tried to save the baby.
Jay always trying to save the baby.
This dude ends up breaking Alan's neck. I don't agree with this scene at all. I want to voice that opinion. Yes, he was fighting against all these guys, but Alan is entirely too powerful to just get his neck broken in the way that it happened. But he breaks his neck, and
he's too powerful to get his. Are you serious?
The way that it happened.
It had to be. It was like realistically, if it was like Superboy Prime or something, then that's like okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because Superboy Prime is fucking broken. Excuse my language, but it is.
I guess that's how they were trying to make this dude, this Scythe guy, who was supposed to be like that. I guess. I mean, I don't know. Anyways, it paralyzed him. He was
trying to sell him as that dude, and he wasn't. Like, Alan has fucking magic, literal magic, flowing in his veins, and they're gonna have some freaking super Nazi break his neck. Are you?
Yeah,
God.
we compare Alan's other feats and his raw power. It was just like I don't see it. But all right, they broke his neck. He was paralyzed, and the reason why he didn't heal back from it immediately was apparently because I don't like this end story reason either. This is a kind of a psyche out. But he said, well, I can't heal myself because I'm too busy concentrating at all times on keeping the star heart in check. So he can heal himself.
Yeah. So basically, he had to stay paralyzed. Otherwise, the star heart will control his body again.
Right. Exactly. So I mean,
yes, and of course, who offers to help him? Jade.
well, not in this story. Jade, in this particular story, Jade didn't show up, but he did create, and like when y'all look up pictures of this, I know this costume is not it in it. However, he dons this costume he calls itself the Living Light. It looks like a lantern. Like he has like a lantern around his chest and then like around his arms and stuff like that. And but the interesting thing that it does is that he's still paralyzed, but he summons this armor that basically he wills to move his body even though he's paralyzed. And I thought that was a really creative way to like for some disability representation. I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on that?
It reminds me of this Flash story where Wally West, I don't remember how it happened. It was during the Grant Morrison and Mark Miller arc kind of run, but he broke like both his legs somehow fighting a villain. And so he, of course, he is the Flash. He generally needs to run. So what he ended up doing is he realized he could solidify the Speed Force, and he used it basically as bracers for his legs so that he could run. And that's where the Speed Force costume comes from, where he eventually like, oh, I can just, make a whole costume out of it.
That is comics.
Of course.
Man, DC characters be having some overpowered abilities, but that is cool. The stuff they do with their powers is like, wow, okay, solidifying the Speed Force.
Kinda, but sure, okay.
It's Grant Morrison though, there was doing some crazy stuff.
Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison. Say no more. That's lots of drinking and psychedelic drugs there. Say no more.
Wow.
I mean, it was because of that we had gotten the good X-Men run that we did, and the beginning of All-Star Superman that he did.
True.
So I'm not.
Grant Morrison actually uses they them. Sorry, I'm not being rude. I'm trying to inform people.
Grant Morrison did what?
Uses they them pronouns.
They them. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me know that. Yeah, that there was a lot of like I said, there's a lot of hard liquor and psychedelic drugs when they were coming up with a lot of their storylines for the different companies. So, but like I said, we got great works during that. So, finding ways to manipulate the Speed Force and magic. I mean, this is all fictional. At the end of the day,
honestly, but I will say this:
just damn,
as creative as that was, and that was great representation. But I'm thinking that the concentration that it takes to control the armor that moves your body would be more than it would take to hold back the star heart.
I think it would take a lot.
But the first one makes you sound more like a badass, though.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, it takes enough concentration where you have to focus. There's a reason why you have to go through so much training in order to be like just a regular Green Lantern in the first place. To focus your will and think of anything and to create anything through this little green ring,
That willpower, though.
I mean, Green Lantern tried it once against Sinestro. All he could do was one arrow, and he was spent afterwards.
Oh, yeah. And Green Arrow is you would think he'd be pretty willful, but apparently...
Right, exactly.
Apparently the Green Lanterns, the rings chose wisely. It's like, nah, he ain't got will like this, bro.
Even Sinestro was like, that was all you could do? Word?
Sinestro be looking down at people like.
He's like, that was it?
I love how Sinestro just kind of like, he stands with his hands behind his back, all upright, with his nose turned down at you.
Like, you're supposed to get the idea that he thinks highly of himself. That's why the whole warrior monk Zen demeanor thing. I'm like, have you seen this guy? Have you seen this dude?
I think it's
like, have you seen his demeanor?
I think it's hand in hand. I think it goes together. You know, it's like that plus that, you know.
Yeah, looking down makes him look zen. When he's looking down on you, he's zen.
Yeah, he just got the same cool, you know. He just watch you trip over himself. Like he doesn't have to say something like Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan just makes stupid constructs, trips over himself, get beat up by bad guys, and he just sits there and stares at him like, what are you doing?
I mean, I guess, like, for some things, there are certain times where I can support Sinestro over Hal. Like the time when Hal no longer had a ring, and Sinestro offered to give him a ring, right? From his own power ring, right?
Mm-hmm. This man made. I have that screenshot, by the way, on my background.
Yeah,
the one where he made, when they were on Thanik or on Korrigar, and he made like a bunch of rings for his people. I was like, bruh.
That was pretty badass. And even like when Hal was trying to save some folks from falling off a bridge, and a bridge was coming apart in Coast City, and at first Sinestro took back his ring power and was like, what are you doing? We have more important things to worry about. And he's like, yo, we gotta help these people, they're gonna die. And so he's like, so reconstruct the bridge, do it. And Hal's like, what? Like, dude, what are you talking about? And Sinestro was like, yeah, like this. Saves everybody, reconstructs the bridge back together. Blase, blase, blah. And Hal's just like, wow. So trust me, there are definitely times when I appreciate Sinestro, you know, kind of putting Hal in his place for a bunch of things.
I love Sinestro putting Hal in his place.
And you sometimes you're like, man, why didn't John do that a bit more often?
But okay, last point on Alan Scott's the main Alan Scott. Last point in the main Alan Scott. He did die. We're sad. He was fighting. No. He was fighting a dark god called. Okay. Yes, his name was Darkin. Yes, it is just Darkin with an apostrophe.
I mean, that is. I can see that.
That's so Star Wars. It's such a Star Wars thing to do. Like, I mean, this is not Star Wars, but it's such a like that is so on brand. Like, if it were Star Wars, that's what they do. It's like that character in Star Wars. His name's Savage Opress, which is just like savage and oppression. Like,
yeah.
It's like, we're just bored.
But yeah, so it's apparently this extremely powerful dark god. He beats him. I mean, that's a really big. I mean, I'm not explaining like the whole fight. They couldn't beat him. All right, let's just put it that way. They were dead to rights, beaten by this dude. But you know, Alan Scott walked up. He said, "Bro, I'm the OG," and he blew up and destroyed this dude. And the only thing that was left in his wake was an empty coffin with a Green Lantern symbol on it. And that was the last that we saw of Alan Scott.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, but this was at the end of the JSA volume that was in 2010, and of course, in a couple of or the next year, they came out with a series called Earth 2. Now, this is important because if you call back to the old comics, we talked about how they mentioned back in 1965 that Alan Scott was from Earth 2. Well, they kind of play on that a little bit. Actually, Tony, you want to talk a little bit about the Justice League from Earth 2 from earlier?
Okay, so I'm trying to contextualize it. Okay, so basically after Crisis on Infinite Earths,
without
there was after Crisis on Infinite Earths, multiverse was, merged together, and there was one Earth, the JSA and the JLA were both there. Eventually, Infinite Crisis happened, and due to the events in Infinite Crisis, the multiverse was reborn. So the main universe was on Earth 0. Then there was also Earth 1, 2, 3, etc. On Earth 2, there was another JSA. This JSA they didn't have like the Justice League characters or anything like that. It was cool. They met up and I think they teamed up. I can't remember specifically, but it was two different JSAs, one in the main universe, one on Earth 2. Then Flashpoint happened. I'm not even going to try to explain what happened in Flashpoint, but the result was the JSA on the main universe.
We suggest you guys cheat and go wiki. It's the sanest thing you could do if you want to catch up, because continuity, what does it mean?
I mean, Flashpoint's a whole episode, so I understand. Yeah, we just move on.
But because of that, the JSA that was in that main universe, Earth 0, was no longer part of that universe. Mm-hmm. And it was just the Justice League on Earth 0, and then Earth 2 had a rebooted version of the JSA on that Earth. So there were two separate Earths, and the Earth 2 book, they had their own ongoing. They kind of went on for a long time. It got really complex with like 10 bat people and 10 super people flying all over the place. It was a mess. But that is the universe that established, well, the first Alan Scott, who was revealed to be gay, and also his powers were different though. It worked on this concept called the Green, which is from like Swamp Thing comics and not really related to Green Lantern, but it did keep like the same like kind of like train accident origin and all that, and he was angry.
They were on a bullet train this time. So that's like the kind of the current, more recent.
Okay, I'll take it one step further. Okay, so eventually Earth 2 kind of, they had a long series, they had a bunch of events, they had a bunch of relaunches, and this new version of Earth 2, I guess it kind of just petered out. And so DC, I did not finish reading Doomsday Clock. I'm not going to. I do not care about the specifics, to be honest. But the JSA is back on the main universe with the Justice League characters and everyone else. And that version of Alan is the main version right now. And he's similar to the pre-Flashpoint version. With Jade and Obsidian, everyone's there. And they also took from the Earth 2 version where they kept him to be gay, and we don't really know what they're doing yet, because this is like literally piecing together like maybe 20 total comic pages so far, but it looks like a very like pre-Flashpoint level of JSA stuff going on.
Yeah. Comics. DC Comics specifically. Retcons, alternate versions, different Earths. Just love it.
And I mean, conversely, Marvel just retcon stuff. They don't try to explain it. DC will be like, okay,
that is true.
Because, cosmological, et cetera, versus Marvel is like, okay, this is how it is now. Deal with it.
But just the explaining actually helped though, because sometimes it just confuses me more.
Yeah.
Yes, and sometimes just being like, okay, we're just gonna start from scratch. We're gonna retcon this shit because we know it's gotten confused and mucked up. This is how we're doing it now.
Here's the good thing about DC.
That's been a main reason why when Jonathan Hickman relaunched X-Men. Why it's been, and just the whole X franchise, essentially, why it's been so good.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, I know I always play bash DC for their retconning. But there is a good thing out of it. One good thing is for readers. You can literally enter DC at any of the major crises and not have to know what happened beforehand. You can enter at New 52, read and have fun. You can enter Rebirth is an excellent starting point. I highly recommend like Rebirth Wonder Woman. You don't have to read anything prior Wonder Woman to enjoy Rebirth Wonder Woman. They do a whole origin story, a really good one, really really well told origin story for Wonder Woman in DC Rebirth, and that's in that happened in 2016. You know what I mean? It's pretty incredible for a character who's been around since the 60s, maybe
40s.
Before that. 40s. Yes. So yeah, like you know what I mean. So that is a plus. Like DC has a lot of good jumping on points. Whereas Marvel is kind of like, what? You didn't know that this happened to this character back in 1992, you know? So yeah. There's some good things about the crises, and I just call them the crises. Even though Flashpoint's doesn't have crisis in its name, it's a crisis. Rebirth is rebirth. It's still again a crisis. It's just a way of them reestablishing the status quo and letting readers jump into the books and be able to enjoy them without having to read, decades upon decades of stuff that isn't even all good, to be honest.
I read stuff, but yeah.
There's some good stuff. There's some good stuff there. I'm not saying it's all bad, but there's also a lot of it that, like, there's a thing among comic fans. It was like you feel like you have to know everything to be considered a comics fan, and that's just not true. You just read what you like. You know what I mean? And if you like it, then you're a comic fan. That's all there is to it. But yeah, that's Alan Scott, y'all. Anybody have any other comments on Alan Scott? What do you guys think? What do you guys think about? Do you guys think he's to be cool on the show? Do you guys kind of like, meh, give me Guy Gardner, or meh, where's my description for Jennifer Cruz, or not Jennifer, I'm sorry, Jessica Cruz, yes. or what's up? There's a lady named Jennifer.
Is he in the so I got a question. In the comics, is he young again or old again? Because I mean, when they have him come out, he looks older. So I guess is he old, but aging recently, yet aging fashionably.
Most recently, he's old again, and he's mostly old. Like, I want to clarify, in the comics, most of what I just talked about in JSA, he's usually old. He's not. His youngness is very brief. A different.
Well, time. I guess I want to say he's not like old though. He's like 50-ish physically.
Yeah. And his body is like his body is like Starheart, Starhearted. He's got a Starheart body. But yeah, so what do you guys think he's gonna? Are you guys interested to see him in the show based on his history in the comics, or?
I think his relationships. I think that's the coolest thing about Alan Scott. That's gonna be cool to see. Whether it's I don't know if they're gonna call him Sam, but if we get that in the show,
yeah.
And like definitely, of course, his kids. Just to be able to see that, like, and I always think it's cool when they bring in, like, I'm not a parent, but I always think it's interesting when they bring in a superhero's like backstory of their kids or how family life would be while they're trying to juggle all that. And then also too, when I was listening to Tony go through when they redid a little bit of them, like them being on the bullet train and the accident happening, his if I remember, his ring was the engagement ring he was going to use.
Oh, that's a good point. I forgot to mention that.
I think it's really dope how his relationships like shape his existence. Whereas Hal was just like, I hit this brick wall, didn't go through it. Let me hit another one. Alan Scott is more of like how he works through his relationships and everything, which I think is cool.
I teared up when I read
that.
Yes,
that's a really good point. Alan definitely. He seems to definitely care a lot more about the relationships that he has with people, especially his children, a bit more than Hal does initially with his family. It takes him having to put everything down, write everything down, and be honest with his younger brother. But it takes him. But it takes him a while. It takes him a really long time, but he eventually gets there. But Alan has always seems to really cherish all the bonds that he has with folks, especially, his children, especially once he finds out that, they are his children. But that's a whole nother episode for another time. So
especially once he finds out that Todd is trash, but No.
Messy.
Obsidian. Oh, love J-Doe. J-Doe. But no, I think that does it for this episode for now. Of course, we'll be back to talk about yet another Green Lantern character. I mean, I'm excited to go through other Green Lantern characters and eventually go through the spectrums. I mean, there's just so much Green Lantern lore out there, so much to talk about. Honestly, it's a whole lot of fun. So like I'm excited to dive into more. We're still pretty early on. I mean, a lot of time has passed, especially since we had a kind of delay between episodes. But there's still so much to discuss. So we'll be back next time to discuss things. We'll go through the social media real quick. Of course, you can find me on Twitter. It's Fourth Wall. That's IVWALL. I've been kind of like sort of half quiet there a little bit. I've been busy, but I'm around. You can also go to my website at fourthwall.net and listen to my writing podcast. I think the most recent episode of the podcast, I interviewed Kieran Gillen, this writer of stuff like X-Men, Eternals, Wicked and Divine, stuff like that. So it's a pretty good interview if you guys want to check it out. Tony, where can people find you at?
Okay, I'm on Twitter at SilverJojo08. Please do not tweet at me about that Powerpuff Girls show. I'm not gonna watch it.
Hold on, let me see my tweet.
I was gonna eventually ask about that Powerpuff Girls show. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna watch it either.
I'm just thinking about like how they're gonna have Mojo Jojo. Is he gonna be like a CGI monkey? Like that sounds like horrible.
Yeah, like how are they gonna do that? And just another case where folks want to reboot stuff, and it's just leave it alone. If anything,
money. You can't leave the money alone.
I mean, I guess, but like at the very least, then at least animate it. It's easier to do it that way. It's easier.
Where the money reside. Are you done, Tony?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Ryan, where can folks find you at?
You can find me at November Bear. I will not be tweeting Tony. I took it back. You can also find me any like Black Girl Nerds on any social media, doing all that kind of stuff. And also I just want to do a little PSA, do a little self-care because there's a lot going on in the world. We talked about a little bit at the beginning, but everybody still be a little careful. We're getting the vaccines out, but wear your mask and everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Foxy, where can folks find you at?
You can mostly find me on Twitter at Foxy Jazabelle. That's JAZZABELLE. You can also find my writings on my blog, foxyjazabelle.com, facebook.com/foxyjazabelle. New blogs, new content, new stuff is always coming. Also, yes, people, please still continue to social distance. Use your masks. Double mask up if you have to or want to. I don't, but I still, wear my mask when I'm going outside to see people, and I suggest everyone does the same. If it's possible, try to make an appointment to get vaccinated as soon as you possibly can, so we can get through this. Please stay safe, stay sane, avoid the bookings, and that's it.
All right. Well, we will catch you guys next time, where we will be talking about an undisclosed Green Lantern character.
I like it. A little sneak peek.
Yeah. Peace.
All right. Bye.
Peace.